If I could turn the page in time, then I'd rearrange just a day or two. Tell me lies, but I couldn't find a way. So I'll settle for one day to believe in you. Tell me lies, tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies, tell me lies. Oh no, no, you can't disguise. You can't disguise. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies, tell me lies. Oh no, no, you can't disguise. You can't disguise.
Greg, what was the question answer on number 16? That was of the 21 questions.
Number 16.
Yeah, number 16.
Did you ever speak? Okay, so did he ever speak with the father? And the answer is no. So Gummert never spoke with the father, but he spoke a lot with Sidra, with the other daughter. And to me, that really was kind of strange. I did not understand that. I didn't understand why either of them wasn't talking to the other person. And as far as we know, the father was never talking to any cops, right?
Well,
From the Apple Valley.
here's what I've got that I haven't shared with you two yet, but just today. In talking with Officer Gummert today live, face to face,
Yeah.
he said these words: "Our correspondence from the department and the Alam family was mainly spent with phone calls to Anjum Alam, the father." He says
Interesting.
all my conversations were with Mr. Alam. All the conversations that we dealt with back and forth were on the phone with Mr. Alam.
Wait, what? Well, hold on then. That doesn't make sense then, because the police reports also say something different. And now you're saying, okay, that's... I don't
Once again,
understand.
I want to clarify that we're not pointing fingers at people or subjects lying, but Sidra went on the record by saying that she herself was the main communication liaison with the Apple Valley Police Department, with all communication. It was done through her and her only, because her father was too busy and spending time with the ill mother, Nyla Alam. The police report said that most of the information going forward on the Alam family would be handled through Sidra. The 21 questions responded directly from Officer James Gummert, said he never once spoke on the phone to Mr. Alam at all. He said I never spoke with him.
Yeah,
Now,
that's all I asked him. I asked him, did he ever speak with him? And he just said no.
So I never spoke with him. So we know it wasn't in person because Anjum Alam was never here. The only way to communicate with him, and he said it was on the phone. We're not talking emails back and forth, texting, instant messaging, phone calls. He said my time spent with Mr. Alam, with the Alam family, was all through Anjum Alam via the phone.
Interesting.
So now, once again, my question would be,
Right.
who filled out those 21 question answers? It doesn't appear to be Mr. Gummert.
Well, it better be. It better be him. Who else could it be?
Well, I'll leave that up, because I don't. I'll leave that up to you two. I don't understand how a simple question that easy, which took 5 weeks to answer, did you speak to Mr. Alam? The answer was no. And today he looked me right in the eye and said I spoke to them all the time. He was our leading point person for that.
That doesn't make sense to me then. I don't understand
That's
that.
baffling.
So I will move on to another topic, but that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with for those out there. This is the kind of information that gets you to start questioning things. And these are not hard questions. These are very simple, straightforward questions that people cannot answer.
Right.
we're getting side stories. I mean, nothing makes sense.
So he either lied to me or he lied to you. He lied to one of us, is what it sounds like.
No, I don't want to say
Well,
that. I don't want to say that, but I can't think of any other alternate answer.
that's what it sounds like. But like you said before, unless there was multiple people putting in multiple answers, so if someone else filled out the questions all together and they didn't even talk to each other, you know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
I agree with that, but I also agree with that before these answers went back to you, Greg, I'm sure
Yeah.
they got their I's dotted and T's crossed by someone. Yeah, he's not answering them our questions. In fact, the department isn't either, which is fair. They've basically gone on record to say we're no longer discussing the case. The case is closed.
But he did. But he discussed it with you
Well, I went
today.
in. I got a phone call on Friday from Steph at the Appa Valley Police Department saying that my Freedom of Information request has come in and it's ready to be picked up. It's on a CD, and so I went over there today during the noon lunch hour and walked in to pick up the CD and talked to the gal down at the front desk, Bev. Gave me the CD and gave me the information and said one of the officers wants to speak with you. So I said, okay, that sounds good. She brought down Officer Jim Gummert. And he came down and we chatted for about 15, 20 minutes. And I know they didn't want to speak about it and they don't want to talk about it, but she must have had a note or something on the Freedom of Information request that once I come to pick up that information to give him a call, because she called him right away and he came down once they knew I was there. So we had a friendly, respectful chat, I should say. But I brought up a couple things that didn't make sense, and he brought up some things that didn't make sense, and went back and forth, and we agreed to disagree on some things, and took it as that. But those are the two things that I found very interesting, because I said, and he was aware of your questions, Greg, because he says I know I responded back to a gentleman named Greg, and I said, well, one of the answers was that no, you never did speak with Mr. Alam.
Right.
And he goes, no, I spoke with him all the time.
Well, then something does
That's
not
what I'm
make
telling
sense.
And when I got home,
Something does.
I looked at those 21 questions again, and it's clear as day. There's no way to misinterpret the question.
No.
There's no way to answer it wrong. There's no way to
Right.
think of something else. And so I don't know. And I also asked about the bodies, the bones. I said, I've had dogs as pets. I've had two daughters I've got, and at the time they were 5 years old. I'm trying to think of would the bone structure at that age in a dog, a mid-sized dog like that, would they eat human bones? Would they even be able to get through it? The arm
Right.
bone consists of the humerus, the radius, and the ulna. Even if it's a 5-year-old child, those are pretty strong bones for a dog to break through, chew up, do whatever. And he basically said that there was no body parts anywhere in the house. They were missing. The dog hadn't eaten in 3 weeks and probably just ate them. Well, I could see the dog eating the flesh and maybe the small bones and the flesh, the ligaments, the muscles, but these are the upper arm, the humerus, is a pretty strong bone for a 5-year-old girl even who's tiny and petite. That a 40-pound beagle mix, or whatever it was, devoured and swallowed and digested these bones.
Yeah.
And he didn't have an answer for that. He didn't want to get into that because he's not a veterinarian, of course. But I said it's questions like that that really they're just basic questions. How does that seem plausible? And he says, well, they weren't found anywhere. Well, so I guess they ate them. Well, you need to take a step back and realize what it is you're saying, because
Right.
like the water bowls in the house. How did the dog survive without water for 3 weeks? His answer was, see the answer to number 2, that the dogs ravaged the bodies to eat that. Well, that answers the question with what did the dog eat? A dog needs water to survive. Not food, water. So if there's 3 toilets in the house, one the lid is shut, and the other one there's crap stuffed in there, a dirty diaper or some clothing or whatever it was, the dog only had one toilet bowl as an option. So just because the dog was thirsty, it doesn't answer the question how it survived for 3 weeks if all it had to feed on was food, tangible meat. You know, a dog needs water. So things don't really add up. Now, whether a dog can eat a bone or not, I doubt it, but let's get into the skull. Let's get into a jawbone of a 29-year-old man. David Crowley's jawbone, are you saying that the dog ate the skull, the jawbone, the teeth, everything?
A full skull.
A full skull is missing. Comel's full skull is missing. 2 hands, an arm, and 2 skull. Adult. That by the time your adult skull gets to be 28, 29 years old, that's pretty solid bone there. That's not a soft child's type of bone structure there. That's a solid adult bone that I don't know how the dog would eat a skull.
Right.
Around the nose and the eye socket, it's very dense bone, but basically they're saying once again that it wasn't found throughout the house, so I guess the dog ate it. And what we're asking is not to solve what happened, but the question is to think deeper as far as it doesn't make sense on the surface. Where did this stuff go? Mason Hendricks said that the bones were all over the house. Body parts were everywhere. Well, dog feces were everywhere, perhaps. That's not the same as saying that there are bones scattered around the house. So there's just too many unanswered questions. And I like the fact that Officer Gummert responded to the 21, and he answered the 21. But in closing, I mean, it's more questions than there is answers. So I'm going to go through, I think, later on this week and put together another kind of a summary of what it was with talking with Officer Gummert and some of the information I got back from the Freedom of Information request. I'll put that together in a future show here this week.
Really, we're talking about people who keep telling us that they know the truth. They have the truth. They've seen the evidence. They've seen everything. We haven't seen anything. And from what Gummert is basically saying, you've seen our whole case. If you've seen those 94 pages, and if you've seen the 464 photos, what I gather from what Detective Gummert is saying is that you have seen their entire case. So based on that, are you satisfied? Is anybody out there really satisfied with just that? And no, I mean, who could be? I really don't get it. Even people who, would think that David Crowley is guilty, they might go, oh, well, no, because there's also there's A, B, C, D that isn't in those 94 pages or isn't a part of those 464 photos. So nobody should be thinking that these 94 pages and the 464 photos prove that David Crowley is guilty, because they don't. That's just my opinion.